Intramuros, isa sa pinakamahalagang lugar dito sa buong Pilipinas. Ito ay isa sa pinaka-historical place. Ay naitutulong ng isang kutsero ay may turo sa mga bawat namamasyal kung anong mahalagang lugar dito sa Intramuros. Mga rule ng mga kutsero ay kailangan panatili, malinis ang lugar, tapos sa mag-uniforme, at sundin ang mga tuntunin ng Intramuros. Dito sa Intramuros, sana isang araw o bawat isang linggo, bigyan nila ng mga libre na mga lugar para lalong pasyalan ng mga mamamasyal dito sa Intramuros. Yung iba kasi namamasyal dito, hindi nakakapasok sa mga lugar-lugar kasi may mga bayan. Ako po pala si Romeo M. Javier, bilang isang kutsero at bilang isang tour guide sa Intramuros. Dito rin ako nabubuhay at nabubuhay ang aking pamilya. Kaya malaking tulong ang Intramuros sa buhay ng bawat isang kutsero dito.
I've been a resident of Intramuros for half of my life, and my children has grown to love this place. We are trying to promote Intramuros through our venue because we feel that this is one way of inviting tourists to come and experience Intramuros. This place is actually the ancestral house of my husband. So this is where he grew up. So he's been here for like his entire lifetime. So it really means a lot, not only to him and his family, but to us also. We would like Intramuros to be a premier tourist destination. My name is Cosette Chua. I am the Managing Director of Pavilion de la Castellana. We are working closely with the administrator to further improve what we have. I believe that this is the only historical place that's left in Manila. In my own little way, I would like to think that I can contribute to its historical value.
Eskwela Talyer, ito yung nagbigay sa akin ng pangalawang pagkakataon na ayusin lahat. Tinutulungan kami para ma-develop yung mga skills namin para magkaroon kami ng kakayahan na gumawa ng sarili rin naming pagkakakitaan. Ang natapos ko dito ay carpentry and woodworks, tsaka painting and finishing. Ako si Ramil Rivera. Graduate ako ng Eskwela Talyer ng batch 7. Ma-improve siguro yung pakikipag-connecta ng mismong Intramuros Administration sa community, yung mas mas mapatibay pa. Pagdadagdag pa sa mga pwedeng magamit na parte ng Intramuros. Yung trabaho ng mama ko kasi dito sa San Agustin Church, parish coordinator siya, kaya ano pa lang yun, hindi pa ako pinapanganak, nandun na siya. Intramuros, na sa akin to, parang Mahal ko yung lugar na yan kasi dito ako pinanganak eh. Ayun na yung pinakabahay ko, hindi lang yung bahay na tinutulugan ko sa loob. Yung mismong Intramuros, siya na yung pinakabahay ko, yung mismong pader. Safe ako pag nasa loob.
It represents our history. It contains a lot of traditions. It houses culture. It represents how we were or how we started as a nation. For me, it's a good place to be in because it represents my identity as a Filipino. It not only represents my profession or my advocacy, but it also represents the place where our trainees and graduates can further develop themselves. My name is Carmen Bettina Bulaong. You can call me Tina for short. I'm the Executive Director of Escuela Taller de Filipinas Foundation Incorporated, and I'm also a conservation architect. So, Escuela Taller is actually a foundation. It's a private, non-profit foundation which runs a technical vocational school or a training center where we build the capacities, especially of the out-of-school youth. Well, it's really a training program that where we train the out-of-school youth in 6 skills. For example, a person can become a craftsman in masonry or carpentry. We also offer courses in painting, plumbing, electrical, and metalworks. I think that the impact that we've had is we've helped already a lot of people to sort of win back their lives, you know, in a way that they're now more economically stable, they're able to support their families, etc. And the good thing is we now have the important participation of the youth in conserving our heritage. What I aspire for Intramuros is that it becomes an example, no, of how we can properly conserve our heritage. Not just the physical structures, not just the sites, but the intangibles, the culture, the traditions, which are very much connected, no, to the structures and the sites, because we consider these structures and sites as containers of that culture. My hopes is that with our continuing partnership with IA, with Intramuros Administration, we will both be able to support each other in achieving that goal.
Intramuros is very important to us because of the lessons in heritage and history. Siguro, in one line, no, ng objective ng Bahay Chinoy, establish our rightful place in the Philippine sun. Bukas ito sa public noong 1999, no? Inilalarawan nito ang bahagi at ang impact ng mga Chinese Filipinos in all aspects of Philippine life. I wish that the Bahay Chinoy can be recognized in the whole Intramuros and the whole Philippine society. I wish all the visitors, the audience, regardless of race, regardless of origin, regardless of your religion, can be recognized as part of this nation and as part of this nation building and the history of the Philippines. Ako po si Teresita Angsi, founding president ng Kaisa para sa Kaunlaran at ngayon ay executive trustee ng Kaisa Heritage Foundation na nagmamanage sa Bahay Chinoy, Museum of the Chinese in Philippine Life.
Intramuros for me is, I would say, the soul of our country. My name is Paulo Mercado. I'm the founder and president of the Creative Economy Council of the Philippines. This is an advocacy group that we set up about 2 years ago to promote the creative industries, both in the public and private sector. So, yung concept of creative economy essentially is taking a look at the contribution of the totality of creative industries and creative individuals to the national economy. So, and to our thrust is to get the government to recognize it as a priority strategic sector and support it with, let's say, incentives or from the private sector investments that would make it grow faster. So I wish for Intramuros in the near future to become the country's most iconic creative hub.
When I started out with the Department of Tourism, we wanted the theme, or to be the overarching theme, to be a culture of sustainable tourism. And what's good with Intramuros Administration is that we should preserve it because it's a historical and a cultural site. And Intramuros is what we can call one of our national treasures. And I want the Intramuros, the district of Intramuros, it's not where you go for field trips or weddings or photo shoots. It should be a place where everybody would like to go to enjoy the sights, and it's like a place where it's like going back in time. Intramuros is a place, I think, that a living urban heritage district. It's where you have history and culture come to life. I'm Bernadette Romulo Puyat. I'm the Secretary of Tourism and also the Chairperson of the Intramuros Administration. Intramuros should promote the cultures and values of Malasakit and Malikain.
For me, Intramuros is our past, present, and our future. And because of that, it is very important in our lives. We must be involved and engaged in Intramuros, and we as citizens must do everything to keep it alive, to keep it vibrant, because it is the archive of our history. It is the archive of who we are as a people. Well, I'm Olivia Limpeao. I'm the President and CEO of Distillery Limtuaco and the 5th generation master blender and distiller of the oldest distillery in the Philippines. So our company was established in 1852, and it was, our founder is Don Bonifacio Limtuaco, who came from China, Fujian, China, and he introduced to the Philippines this product called Shok Hok Tong, which eventually became the generic term for Chinese medicinal wine, Shoktong. And so we are very much part of the history of the Philippines through our liquor making with 167 years of history and legacy that we have shared with this country. Well, Intramuros is very important because this was really the seat of governmental power and trade, culture, religion, and we're very proud to be part of Intramuros now through our museum. While our role in Intramuros is really to provide another tourist spot, another tourist spot where through our museum, tourists can learn more about our country, about our products, about our industry. And we're very proud to be given that opportunity to participate, in promoting culture through food. Well, I would really love that Intramuros would be teeming with tourists, with young people working in this place, celebrating our history and our culture and sharing it with the rest of the world. Similar to what other countries are doing. For instance, like in Tallinn, Estonia, where they have a medieval walled city. I wish our Intramuros would be not just like that, but maybe even better, so it would be really a living walled city of the past, the present, and the future.
IA's dedication in ensuring that tangible treasures that immortalize our history are now accessible to the public is commendable.
Congratulations to the Intramuros Administration. I wasn't expecting that the collection can be so amazing. It was really an awesome experience seeing all of this collection, and it's like 30% only of the collection. I wish to see more. Again, congratulations.
Masasabi ko ito ay malaking isang tagumpay kasi matagal namin nakatago at hindi na i-display talaga sa public yan. Pangalawa, nagpalipat-lipat na ng location yan at ngayon, na-save natin.
Intramuros mahalaga para sa akin bilang Pilipino kasi maraming bagay sa Pilipinas dito nagsimula sa Intramuros. Well, actually, more than reviving the structures, ang gusto ko talaga maintindihan ng tao kung anong kontribusyon ng Intramuros sa pagmuno ng Pilipinas. Kasi kung walang pagkilala, walang pagmahal, hindi siya mananatili. Fernando Siazod ako, Professor Emeritus sa Ateneo de Manila, sa Department of Sociology and Archaeology. Ang mensahe ko lang, dapat mas nuanced, mas complex ang ating pagtingin sa kasaysayan. Kasi mahirap itong black and white pagtingin sa kasaysayan. Masyadong moralistic, basta Kastila masama. Dapat mas three-dimensional pagtingin sa kasaysayan.
Okay, so
Recording in progress.
It's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so we're now going to start with our Intramuros Learning Session. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is our 53rd episode so far, and today we're going to have part 2 of Protecting Intramuros, which will talk about the current conservation projects in the walled city. So part 2 of Protecting Intramuros, which is the 53rd episode of the Intramuros Learning Session, is about the current conservation projects in the walled city by Ramil Tibayan. So before we start, I'd like to mention some house rules first. So hello to our Zoom attendees. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise them via the Q&A button or the chat button below the screen. Hello also to our Facebook viewers. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise them in the comment section below. Take note that only those who have successfully registered and viewed on Zoom will be eligible to get a certificate, and a feedback form will be emailed to you after the session. So also, the certificate will be sent within a week. Please note that this webinar is recorded, and the recording shall be made permanently available in IA's social media. And if you are viewing via Facebook, please note that you can still register for Zoom right now. This is important, no? Because only the Zoom participants will be eligible to get a certificate. Right. So our speaker for today is none other than Ramil Tibayan. Ramil is a Filipino architect and a cultural worker. He is presently the chief of the Cultural Properties and Conservation Division of the Intramuros Administration. As an academic, he is also presently a lecturer at the University of Santo Tomas. As a practicing architect, he is licensed in the Philippines, and in the national licensure examinations in 2009, he was top 1. From the University of Santo Tomas, he has 2 degrees. He has a Bachelor of Science in Architecture cum laude and a Master's in Cultural Heritage Studies. He was also trained with the Getty Conservation Institute and Think City Malaysia on conservation of historic urban cities. Now, without further ado, may now call on Architect Ramil Tibayan. Architect?
Hello. Video pala. Di ko ma-on yung video ko. Okay, there. So, hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you for the introduction, Rancho, John. Let me share my screen. Okay, so nakita naman?
Yes, kita naman.
Okay, sige. So good afternoon, everyone. So for this afternoon, I will be presenting the current conservation projects that we're doing, no? And kumbaga ito yung mga nagawa namin during this administration po, no? So let me start. So, sino ba ang IA, no? So, who are we, no? So, the Intramuros Administration is an attached agency to the Department of Tourism, no? So, we are responsible for the orderly restoration and development of Intramuros, no? So, our mandate is the PD 1616 or Presidential Decree 1616. So, specifically stated there that we are responsible for the orderly restoration and development of the whole district of Intramuros, and as such, it shall ensure that the general appearance of Intramuros shall conform to the Philippine Spanish architecture of the 16th to the 19th century. So again, the orderly restoration development of Intramuros. So ito yung ina-uphold namin, especially the office that I am handling, no? So there are different development plans that were done for Intramuros. No? So first is the 1973 plan. At this plan, the IA is wala pa dito. No? So 1973 Plano de Ordenación de Turístico de Intramuros de Manila. No? So it focuses on the restoration and creation of new urban environment. And then in 1979, the IA was established through the Presidential Decree 1616. And then in the 1980, we have the Intramuros Development Plan. So it is a comprehensive site planning and a multi-dimensional development. So in this plan also was the approval of the 1973 plan as its basis. And in 1992, there was an updated Intramuros plan as a living museum concept, and rules and regulations were relaxed. So currently, what we have now, since these plans medyo may inconsistencies, we have now the CMP, or the Conservation Management Plan, which we did last 2019. So what is the CMP? No? So a CMP is a document that helps the management strategy for historic assets, sites, and places. No? So it explains the significance of the heritage asset in case of this is the Intramuros, and examines how any future use, the management, and conservation policies to be applied in order to protect the significance of that particular place or an object. No? So currently we have now the Intramuros CMP. So for the past years, since the post-World War II, Intramuros has been subject to these various policies, laws, and regulations addressing the restoration development, but it resulted to inconsistent and ambivalent application. And the CMP will address the challenges that Intramuros faces today as a urban heritage site. So what are the functions? What are the functions of IA? No, especially on the conservation of its cultural properties. No? So under the Section 3 of PD 1616, especially the division is to initiate, plan, undertake, and supervise the restoration, the upkeep, and maintenance of the walls and fortification complex, including the ravelins, the moats, etc., no? and other government-owned and managed properties within Intramuros. So in the 1980s, in the early years of IA, the focus on the development is into the restoration. No? So the significant part of Intramuros were restored. No? So ito yung walls and fortification complex, which is now today is a declared national cultural treasure by the National Museum of the Philippines. So one of the examples of early conservation works done by IA are the restoration of its gate. So for example, this one is the restoration of the Puerta de Santa Lucia gate. So as you can see here, this is the pre-war photograph. Kompleto pa yung gate, and then after the war, it was totally damaged. It was bombed during the war, no? So including the other significant buildings. So as you can see on the background, you will see the monastery of San Agustin Church were literally obliterated because of the war. So in the early years of IA, focuses on the restoration of the walls, no? And this photograph, as you can see here, this is very significant in the creation of IA, because as you can see here, we see in the middle ground are ruined buildings, no? So we have here the former Agustina Provincial House, the Monastery of San Agustin, and then on the background we can see the Manila Cathedral and the Palacio del Gobernador, which was currently during this time is being constructed. No, as you can see there that there are still scaffoldings and the tower crane. No, so the construction of this building has been significant in the creation of IA. No. When the former action officer of IA, Minister Laya, saw the building, parang tumataas na siya and it will overshadow the Manila Cathedral. No? So supposed to be the Palacio del Gobernador was supposed to be a 12-story building, and because of the intervention of Minister Laya, so nireport niya kay former President Marcos that about what is being developed in the district of Intramuros. So there was an intervention, so the building was constructed only up to 8 floors, and because of this building, nabuo ang IA, no, nagkaroon ng Intramuros Administration. So to continue, no, so part of the conservation works done also is on the part of archaeology. No? So before any conservation works done, especially on the built heritage, nagkakaroon muna ng archaeological excavations. For example, here in Santa Lucia, the former bridge of the gate were excavated, no? And these remains, these archaeological remains, has been the basis for the design of the current bridge that we see today now at Santa Lucia. So the methods of construction, since this restoration, also again, restoration is returning a place to its known earlier state. No? So there are bases for this. So there are archaeological excavations, there are archival research, and including the method of construction. As we can see here, traditional methods were used to reconstruct the former gate. So this again, the bridge and the gate nearing its completion, and this is how it looked like now after the gate was completed. So another example of restoration works done by IA is the restoration of the curtain walls. Now, in this one is the Ravelin del Parian and the Parian curtain walls. No? And here this is the condition of the walls prior to its restoration. So as we can see here, the walls were badly damaged. This because of the war. And on the background, we can see the Herald building, which was also conserved today. So this is the Ravelin del Parian. So it's badly damaged, no? And there was a time that this area, this area was used as a bus depot, no? Or parking lot ng buses. So this this is the photograph of during its restoration. And again, traditional methods were used to reconstruct the portion of the wall, as we can see here, no? Walang bakal lahat yan, no? So it's all masonry construction, no? So this is a photograph of because the reconstruction of the chambers in Parian, and notice these workers. No, some of these workers were still with us, with IA. No, so from the very beginning of IA, mayroon pang ibang mga mason na nagsimula ng restoration ng walls na nandito pa rin sa amin, and they still continue doing the work, no, in maintaining the walls and fortification complex of Intramuros. So this is the section of the wall along Muralla Street. So as we can see here, the lower part of the walls, this is the original section of the wall. Ito yung part ng na part during the Spanish colonial period, and on the upper part is the reconstructed part of the walls. And this is how it looked like after its completion. No? So in the Philippine Development Plan of 2017 to 22, in the Chapter 7, one of the goals is promoting Filipino culture and values. No? So the promotion of Philippine culture and values is in accordance with the strategies of the PDP, no, under Chapter 7, while focusing on the preservation and development of tangible cultural heritage assets. The IA recognizes the importance of creating cultural awareness, inculcating Filipino values, and cultivating creativity and amplifying national pride as a key element to development. The IA or the administration also adopted the UNESCO Historic Urban Landscape approach, which ensures that the livability and inclusive development of the community in the conservation and preservation of urban heritage sites. So what are the priority areas of the cultural agenda? So first is the safeguarding and enshrining our cultural heritage. Second is achieving equity and inclusion in access to cultural resources and services. And third is sustaining and enhancing cultural assets to foster creativity and innovation for socioeconomic growth. So how can we achieve these goals? No? So first we have to establish historic and cultural complexes nationwide as hubs for cultural education, entertainment, and tourism. This will help in showcasing the best of the Philippines for cultural tourism, which can contribute to economic growth. And second, expand inclusive cultural structures as civic spaces for dialogue and cultural exchange. So these cultural infrastructure and facilities will be used as venues for fostering social cohesion and valuing cultural diversity. So cultural structures such as museums, cultural centers, archives, libraries, art galleries, etc. will be made more inclusive in order to allow for dialogue and cultural exchange. So how do we meet these goals? So one of the projects that IA did is the opening of the Museo de Intramuros. So this project is actually a long-term project. No? Actually, ang ano nga namin dito parang 40-year project ng IA, no? Because ever since the inception of the administration, the construction of the Museo de Intramuros was already planned, no? But it was only recently completed and opened in 2009 as part of the 40th anniversary activities of IA. No? So the museum now houses the ecclesiastical collections of IA. No? So mga religious images, mga vestments, and everything about ecclesiastical objects are exhibited here in IA. And this is what is exhibited now in the museum is only a small part of the whole collection of IA. No? So marami pang hindi pa nailalabas from the collection. But this is already a big achievement because ever since these objects were collected by the administration, many of these objects were not seen by the public. No? So nakatago lang. No? And as part of the facilities that we have in the museum, it's not only as an exhibition space, but we have a conservation laboratory in conserving the collections of IA. So another project that we did is the comprehensive rehabilitation of Fort Santiago. No? So maybe some of you will baka natatandaan pa yung mga field trips nila ng mga bata sila, no? And when you see Fort Santiago today, it's totally different from kung ano yung nakagisnan natin, because what we did here is we return the concept of the plaza, no, yung Plaza Moriones, no, kasi before we rehabilitate the Fort Santiago, it was actually the plaza was turned into a garden in the early 90s, no. So the concept is to turn it back as a plaza, no, and during the Spanish colonial period, it was a marching grounds, no? So plaza talaga siya, no. And another improvement that we did here is that we removed all asphalt roads inside Fort Santiago, no. So by removing these roads, we have increased 30% of the greenery within Fort Santiago complex. So so lumaki yung green spaces. So mas naging cooler yung approach nung rehabilitation, and also we used materials that are not heat absorbing. No? So parang naging mas maliwalas ngayon yung Fort Santiago from the way it was in the early 90s, no? Or yung nakagisnan natin na dating itsura niya, no? And it's not only the improvement of the greeniness, no? So we also part of the rehabilitations is the rehabilitation of the dungeons, and these dungeons were long closed to the public, no? And because of this project, no, so we opened this portion of the Fort Santiago to the public, no? And syempre, it's not only improvements that we did, no? So kailangan meron pa rin conservation works, no? So portions of the fortification complex were restored, and as you can see here in these photographs, that one of the structures inside Fort Santiago is badly deteriorated. No, this is because of its it has been open to the environment, so nag-deteriorate na siya. No? So this part of the works that we did for Santiago. And another project, conservation project, is the restoration of Baluarte San Andres. No? So this project, we partnered with the National Museum of the Philippines to restore the Baluarte de San Andres. No? So this Baluarte is the one near Manila Buliti. No? So the structure has been existed through time. No? So this was first restored during the early years of IA, and 40 years have passed. No? So the structure has been subjected to various forms of deterioration. So, but both physical and environmental threats. No? So nag-deteriorate na rin yung structure. No? So to prevent further deterioration, it has been it was recommended that the Baluarte will undergo restoration to ensure the bastion's future in the years to come. So what we did here, we replaced yung mga deteriorated stones, yung mga grouting niya. So we replaced yung mga previous grouting that were already deteriorated. No? And as you can see in this photograph, yung mga soot and grime that were that has been accumulated for years were also removed. No? And this division, yung CPCD, we're not only into conservation works. No? So under also this office, we're also handling the administration of the museums. So we have the Casa Manila Museum and the Museo de Intramuros. No? And part of our activities are the mounting of museum exhibitions. No? And here are some of our exhibits. No? So currently, these are in the museo, but unfortunately, because the museums were closed, no? So hindi natin siya ngayon ma-access. No? So this is one of the exhibits that we did. No? So this is about precision. So this was supposed to open last year, March 2020, but because of the pandemic, we have to shut down the museum. No? And it's not only local exhibitions that we did, we also partake to international exhibitions, and this is the latest exhibition that where we joined. Also, this is in Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore, where we loaned two of our significant objects in the collection. So, syempre, since we have the museum, kailangan meron ding conservation of museum collections. So, as we can see here, we also do conservation of paintings, mga ganyan. No? So, part of the activities of the museum is also again yung goal natin, kailangan maging inclusive din tayo para mas marami yung ma-reach natin. No? So, part of our activities is that we have this museum volunteer program. No? So we did this sometime in 2019. So may mga volunteers kami, mga volunteer students that we teach how to conserve silver objects. As you can see here, tinuruan namin sila how to properly clean objects made of silver. And also, syempre, we have the collection. We have to document the collections. No? So here we documented the collections of the IA, and as you can see here, Mr. Sanitinho. So malaki yung naitulong sa amin ni Sanitinho on improving our on the works that we're doing in the museum. No? So we are very thankful to Mr. Sanitinho on the knowledge that he has imparted to us. And also, part of our activities are also into archaeology. No? So, the Intramuros, syempre, this has been here since pre-colonial times. No? So, the whole district is also an archaeological site. No? And let me read this excerpt from the papers of architect Felix Imperial. No? So once an authentic master plan is drawn, everything else becomes routine. Now the dream of restoring Intramuros is possible. The foundations of the buildings are still there. The relics of the old drainage, the street system are still there. The walls are still there. A complete old city lays buried 75 centimeters below the street line, which is actually true. No? Everywhere you, kung saan ka magbukay dyan, may nakikita talaga sa ilalim ng lupa. No? So a complete archaeological site unique in all of Asia, a medieval city, a medieval walled city. No? So that's why in every excavation works, for example, road works, may improvement ng mga drainage, we have to monitor this excavation because there are significant archaeological remains na nakikita din. No? So for example, this one also, this a tunnel. So we are not yet sure what's the use of this tunnel, no? But we saw this when one of the roads were being excavated, no? Nagkaroon ng rehabilitation ng roads, and nakita ito sa ilalim, no? So another activity that we did is archaeological excavations at Revelin de Recoletos. Again, we partnered with the National Museum of the Philippines to conduct an archaeological excavation at the Revelin. No? So, syempre, it's the National Museum has the mandate to do this archaeological excavation. So, here in the Revelin, there's an effort to document the historical features of the site through systematic archaeological excavation. The Revelin de Recoletos is part of the National Cultural Treasure declared by the National Museum. So ito yung nakita namin, no? As you can see here, this is a portion of the wall, no? And there is a gate or a postigo that was half buried, no? So ito yung existing condition niya before the excavation were done. And then when we excavated it, as you can see here, it was buried. Almost half of the postigo was buried underground, no? And nakita din yung remains of a former bridge connecting the main wall complex to the Revelin de Recoletos. No? So these are the things that were found. No? So may mga cultural remains, may mga bones. These are not human remains. No? These are animal remains na mga nakita dyan. No? And also, we're also doing collaborations with schools and universities, no? So, mga research studies. So it's part of our activities that we're doing. And here we have guests from Seville University, no? That they studied the walls of Intramuros. No? And also, we also conduct mga study tours, no? For example, here. These are students from Friedrich Alexander University in Nuremberg, Germany. So we not only collaborate with foreign schools but also local schools, syempre, no? So we have here students from Benil, and here we can see here Professor Regalado Jose from the University of Santo Tomas, no? Studying one of our significant ivory objects in the collection. So again, we conduct events, lectures, study tours, etc. No? And then COVID-19 comes. No? So everything parang bigla lang March 16, 2020, all of our sites, historical sites, museums were shut down because of the global pandemic, no? And this tong date na to, yung a week before the declaration of the community quarantine, this this is a very memorable event na nangyari sa amin because we were prior to the closure of the museums, we were instructed to evacuate the museums of all of its yung mga precious mga objects na sa museums were instructed to evacuate kasi magkakaroon nga ng lockdown, no? So parang Friday, I still remember it was Friday night. We're packing up the museums and securing the museums, no? Kasi we don't know kung kailan ulit magbubukas, no? So to safely secure this, we have to evacuate the objects and secure the facilities, no? So syempre, the museums were closed, no? So anong mangyari sa atin, no? So indefinitely hindi natin alam kung anong mangyayari dahil sarado nga yung mga museums, no? So and buti na lang, no, before the pandemic, one of the activities that we did is to document the museum collections, so yung mga collections. So this has given us an opportunity to still continue exhibiting via online platforms, no? And now we have exhibits. We partnered with Google Arts and Culture, no? So we have online exhibits. Actually, these online exhibitions, we started this before pa mag-pandemic, no? And since we have materials that we already gathered, no? So natuloy-tuloy lang namin tong trabaho na to, no? So up until today, we're mounting new exhibits at this website. And also, syempre, ito yung mga ILS o yung mga learning sessions, we're still doing this, no? So, ngayon nga, naka 53 episodes na, no? So, we started this in April 2020. And we still continue this up to this day. Okay. And, sorry. Yung mga previous episodes of the ILS, you can see if you want to watch the previous episodes, it's all uploaded in the YouTube channel of the administration. So, yung paano yung conservation works, no? Kailangan ba siyang tumigil? Siyempre, kailangan natin tuloy yung trabaho natin, no? Because we are given the task to take care of these cultural properties, no? So one of the current conservation projects that we're doing now is the conservation and rehabilitation of the Intendencia building, no? So this is we partnered here with the National Archives of the Philippines and the Department of Public Works and Highways, no? So once the building is completed, the National Archives will move in, and the Spanish colonial archival records will also be housed in the finished building, no? So ano na yung nagawa dito sa Intendencia? So there are required documents, so we require the archaeological impact assessment, and especially the conservation management plan, no? As part of the requirements, no? So these were already provided, no? So meron na archaeological excavation done and the conservation management plan. So the CMP will now guide how to properly conserve the building and adapt it to its new use as the offices and repository of archival records. So again, kailangan merong archaeological excavation to be done. So here, the National Museum is present, and also the team of Dr. Victor Paz from the UP Archaeological Studies program. So they did the archaeological excavation at Intendencia. Another project that we're currently doing is the restoration and rehabilitation of the Reducto de San Pedro, no? So this reducto is part of the defense system of Intramuros facing the bay side or the Manila Bay side, no? So this portion of the defense network of Intramuros is a significant portion of the seafront walls, and ito yung portion ng walls that is not badly damaged, no? So it's fairly intact from the hindi siya masyado na damage during the war, no? So the proposed project is the activation of the Reducto de San Pedro, in which part of the scope of work is to restore and also to install electrical facilities, plumbing facilities para maging usable siya, no? So again, before we do any conservation works, kailangan may research siya, no? So here we did a study, so may mga archival research as basis for the design interventions for the conservation of the reducto. And again, kailangan ma-archaeology. No? So we did rescue archaeology here. Again, may mga nakukuhang mga significant objects like this one. When we were excavating the road in front of it, there were objects like musket balls, buttons, and yan, I think this one is a domino, belt buckles, flintstones, or something like that. So this is how it look today, no? So currently we're doing the project, no? And this is a project funded by the Department of Public Works and Highways. No? So we would like to thank the department for funding this project, no? So this is how it look like now. So it's almost nearing completion, and as part of the conservation work is to clean the walls, no? So as you can see here, mas nakita ngayon yung tunay na kulay ng mga brickwork and ng mga stone masonry. And before kasi these are all covered with dirt and grime, no? So maitim talaga yung itsura niya, no? So here we'll see a portion of the wall were being cleaned. So here makita pa rin natin yung dating condition niya where there are dirt and grime and also lichens covering this section of the wall, no? And this section of the wall after its cleaning. So it's almost complete, no? And again, as I have said earlier, no, and in every excavation that we're done in Intramuros, kailangan ma-monitor siya, no, because of the possible emergence of archaeological remains, no? So, for example, the rehabilitation of roads within Intramuros, so we monitor them together with the National Museum, no? And again, the Public Works is the implementing agency of the project, no? So here we also meron kaming mga nakilalang mga nag-volunteer. So here, these are metal detectorist volunteers. So they're using metal detectors to detect mga metal remains, no, na makikita sa mga excavation sites, no? So for example here, yung mga coins, buttons, I think this is a belt buckle, no? So this volunteer help us in detecting possible remains na makikita, no? And again, this is being monitored by both the IA and the National Museum. So syempre, again, kailangan tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung conservation work even in the pandemic, no? So we need to take care of the collections so that we're entrusted to us, no? So here we still continue doing the job, no, the conservation of cultural objects that we have. So medyo ano lang, no, medyo matagal lang kasi syempre limited ang workforce, limited yung work hours na inaalaw sa amin, no? But still we're doing this, no, to take care of these objects, no. And here these are two of our carvers, no. So as you can see here, nire-restore nila yung mga nasirang mga antique furniture. And katulad nito, no, so pinakita nila sa akin tong ginagawa nila. Sabi ko, parang na-overhaul naman yata yung ano na yan, yung furniture na yan, no. So totally kasi talagang sira talaga siya, and they did a great job to put it back, no. So nabuo nila ulit yung furniture, no. And also part of our activities during the pandemic is to the recuration of our museums. So early this year we recurated the Casa Manila Museum. So this is a collaboration work with architect Anton Mendoza, no? And in this activity, many objects that were inconsistent with the curatorial with the curation of Casa Manila. So marami kami mga tinanggal na mga objects that were inconsistent, and marami ding objects na nailabas, no, or mga bagong objects that we put inside the museum, no. So this is now more mas ano na siya ngayon, no, mas kumbaga in line with the curatorial aspect of the museum, no? So we put more furniture and rearrange yung mga furniture, no? But the whole structure will not change, no? Only the furniture, no? Inayos lang talaga yung loob, no? So mas naging maliwalas na ngayon yung Casa Manila if you've been here before the pandemic, no? So parang before kasi parang malungkot, mainit, madilim, no? So today, if you hopefully in the coming weeks or months, we will reopen the museum, no? So I'd like to invite you to visit the Casa Manila, no? So para makita nyo din yung the new things that we did for the museum. And it's not only the Casa Manila that we're recreating, but also the Museo de Intramuros, no? So may mga objects pa kaming mga ilalabas din as part of the curation of the museum, no? So hopefully, I'm not sure when will this museum, but we're still continuing the job, no? Tuloy lang namin yung trabaho, no? So ano ba yung ano natin, no? So again, conservation, this is a continuous process, no? So even if there is a pandemic, kailangan tuloy-tuloy lang siya, no? And I would like to share this this note from the SPAB, or the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings, in which this society is advocating regular maintenance of historic structures, no? So let me read, no? So the starting point for the SPAP approach is care and maintenance, no? So some deterioration of building over time is almost inevitable, but maintenance helps slow the rate and lessen the need for larger campaigns of work. So major interventions tend to be more costly, no? So if we kung may nasira na yan, mas mahal siya pagawa, no? And it is disruptive and damaging to the fabric of the building. So good maintenance involves simple frequent checks and minor work, so such as cleaning of gutters, cleaning of the drains, fixing the slip slates or pads, etc., replacing missing putty around glass, etc. So in short, maintenance is a continuous obligation for those who are taking care of historic buildings, no? But the effort always pay in dividends in protecting a building's historic and monetary value. The most important message of the manifesto of SPAB is to stave off decay by daily care, no? So kaya kailangan continuous siyang ginagawa niyo, yung conservation, no? In order to protect the building or not only the structure but also the objects that are entrusted to us, no? Okay, so that's all. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Architect, for that very interesting presentation. It is nice to see that the Intramuros Administration has a lot of projects for the care and maintenance of its collection, its museum collection, as well as the walls and fortifications of the walled city. Now, in these so many projects right now, we have a lot of projects currently. What are the priority projects of your division, of the Cultural Properties Conservation Division?
One of our priority projects was actually dapat nga to last year pa, no? So it's not only kasi maraming ginagawa sa division na to, no? So we are also maintaining yung mga facilities, mga buildings that were entrusted to us, no? But syempre, since this is it's more on conservation, yung priority talaga, it's more on in taking care of this the walls and fortification complex. So it's not only that, but also yung mga parks and plazas, no? It's part of our work that we're doing, no? So yung pag-take care sa mga ito, and also the museum objects, no? So actually wala naman na kasi masyadong kailangan bagong gawin, no? And as I have said earlier, it is kailangan there is regular maintenance in protecting this structure, kasi kung hindi natin sila poprotektahan, kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng project. Kailangan ni project kasi sira na, no? But if we take care of this, no, we minimize the expenses in doing projects, no? So mga ganon, no? So yan.
in the prioritization of your project, like for example, in the listing of priorities, what are your considerations?
Siyempre, we have to we have to check din. Siyempre, ano ba yung mga badly deteriorated na talaga dyan ng mga areas, no? And kaya nga before naging priority yung Fort Santiago kasi talagang as I have shown you, portions of the walls were seriously deteriorated, no? Talagang yung mga stonework niya, it's already loose, there are no more mortars. So, kailangan na talaga siyang gawin, no? And we're very thankful to TIEZA for funding the project, no? So, ang titingnan namin mo dito, what is the condition of the structure? So, kung relatively okay pa yan, baka siguro hindi ba naman kailangan ng intervention, but those structures that need intervention, ito yung mga ipaprioritize.
Thank you for that, architect. Now, for those who are interested in asking questions, feel free to do so. If you are viewing via Zoom, feel free to raise your questions in the chat button or in the Q&A button below. Or if you're viewing via Facebook, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section, and I will read them on air so that the speaker may respond to them. Right. So this is with regard to the maintenance of the walls and fortifications of Intramuros. Now, in the Bura Charter, reconstruction is discouraged. However, the walls and fortifications of Intramuros had a lot of lost features which were reconstructed over the years, such as, for example, the bridge of the Reducto de San Pedro. Now, what are your thoughts on this? How would you reconcile?
Okay, ganito kasi yan, no? So, yes, it is true that the Bura Charter advocates yung hindi sila sa reconstruction, no? But for this naman kasi, Intramuros, in the first place, it is already in the mandate that talagang, kumbaga parang, it's not specifically naman sinabi kailangan i-reconstruct, no? But yes, you're right, there are portions that reconstructed. But ang sinasabi naman kasi ng reconstruction, if reconstruction is only allowed for a structure to be completed, makomplete ulit siya. Yun ang sinasabi ni Bura Charter. And Intramuros, before its restoration or let's say its reconstruction, there are remains. And in order to complete it, kailangan mong i-reconstruct kasi may basis ka on how you can reconstruct it again. Kaya nga nagagawa tayo ng archaeological excavations. We do archival research as basis for this work, no? So it's not a totally new construction simply because there are remains that were also used and incorporated in the reconstruction of the walls. And if we'll pattern that in the charter to? The Venice Charter, we're also aligned with that, no? So the Venice Charter, sinasabi niya kailangan the new work must be identifiable to the old work. And one of the examples that I shown you that portions of the old walls were still there. And may identify mo kung ano yung bagong ginawa, no, from the old work.
Thank you for that, architect. Earlier, you mentioned that only a portion of the museum collection is accommodated in the Museo de Intramuros. And I'd assume that when you say only a portion is exposed to the public, you will also mean the Casa Manila as well. Now, would you recommend the construction of another museum in Intramuros to house the remaining collection of IA, which is hidden from the public?
I think that's not necessary anymore, no? Kasi the purpose of the museum, no? Again, we need to mount exhibits. If we're going to show everything, lahat nakalabas na, baka wala nang bumalik. Kasi nakita na nila lahat eh. No? So that's the purpose of doing exhibition. Kailangan umiikot yung objects mo. Hindi yung naka-permanent yun na yung nakikita. No? That's why we recreated Casa Manila. We bring out more furniture that was not seen, no? And we took out yung iba, no? So para may makitang bago.
How often is this rotation of exhibits?
Well, for the Casa Manila kasi ito mahirap eh. Siyempre, it's a lifestyle museum. No? So, and nangyari dito after ilang years, I think 40 years din. Bago na bago, no? Yung hindi naman totally na bago, may diagdagan lang, no? But we can do the rotation. For example, maybe yearly magbabagot ng bagong exhibit. So kasi ang museum naman meron yang portions na permanent exhibition. And then we can also conduct yung mga temporary exhibits, no? And pinakita ko nga kanina about the precision, it is a temporary exhibit, no? So and after that, itatago na ulit yan, no? So pwedeng every year we can mount a temporary exhibits, no, to show other collections that are in the storage facilities.
Thank you for that. We have a question from Violeta Munoz. May I know the current projects of the conservation laboratory at the museum? I think she's talking about the museum. So what are the current projects of your laboratory at the museum?
Yung ginagawa namin sa laboratory. So it's one of the object we're conserving now is the One Luna painting, no. So medyo na delayed lang because of the pandemic, no, and the procurement of the materials that are needed for its completion. Doon lang kami nagkaroon ng problema, no. But we're doing that, no. So na-lined na yung painting, it's already cleaned. We're fixing its mounting, mga ganun na lang, no. So that's one of the project that we're doing at the laboratory, and especially di lang naman yung maintaining the objects, no. So kung may mga kailangan i-maintain na objects, so doon yung ginagawa namin.
With regard to the collection at the Museo de Intramuros as well as the Casa Manila, how would you describe the provenance? Do you have any pieces from Intramuros, or is it everything is outside Intramuros?
I'm not sure about the provenance, because the problem with this, if you want to do research on the provenance, especially on our collection, when these objects were acquired, hindi recorded yung provenance. And again, government can only buy to entities who issue receipts. Kailangan may resibo, no? So, since tatakbuhan ng gobyerno, syempre yung mga antique dealers, no? And some of these dealers, no, they don't disclose their source. Syempre, yun yung pinagkukuhaan nila, eh. So they don't disclose kung kanila na nabili yan, no? So, when I did research on one of the objects, ang naging ending ko, dun sa dealer lang, hanggang dealer na lang, no? Wala na akong nakitang kung sino talaga yung tunay na may-ari, no? So I'm not sure if there are objects that were originally here in Intramuros, but I'm sure many of these are from sa labas, no? And may iba naman, may provenance. If you're just going to do research talaga, no? For example, we have pieces from the Hidalgo collection. So may mga furniture pieces, may mga ivory pieces from Don Hidalgo. Then ano pa ba yung I think that there is a retablo that we bought from, I forgot the name of the church, no. So yung mga ganun, kasi these are documented naman, eh. So may mga documentation naman yan na kung if you're going to do research, malalaman mo naman yung provenance din ng isang object. Well, the problem lang with our documentation sa catalog cards, these are not recorded because of the yung acquisition. Hindi rin na-disclose kung kanino binili.
Thank you for that. I mentioned that question because in the 80s, there was this massive drive to procure antique objects from all over the Philippines. Now, it is curious that this drive existed only in the 80s. Is there any effort right now to expand the collection through procurement?
Hindi na, wala na, no. Kasi we have so much in the holdings, no. And the problem with this kasi as a museum, you have the task of taking care of this. Kung masyado ka naman maraming objects sa pinangahawakan, baka hindi mo naman ma-maintain yung objects, baka masira lang. So for now, wala namang kung bibili pa ng mga bagong objects, no, because marami naman kasing nasa collection na hindi pa naman kasi nakikita din or hindi pa na-exhibit, no.
How about expansion by donation? Are you open to that?
Well, natanong ko din yan, no? We can accept donations.
Right.
Nasa ano naman yun, I think it's in the mandate then, that we can accept donations. Or, yan.
Right. We have a question from Ernesto Malay Jr. Since the conservation plan already addresses the physical character of Intramuros, are there other plans or a master plan which would include regular cultural related events for the general or regulated public in the various venues after the pandemic in the new normal?
Events? I'm not sure about the events, no? But I'm sure babalik naman tayo dyan. And even before the pandemic, may mga events naman talaga tayong ginagawa din, no? So, and again, Intramuros, our stakeholders here, our communities, many of these nabubuhay sa turismo, no? So we have to conduct events, no? Para
Yeah. We have a question from Ernesto Malay. Yeah, Ernesto Malay. There used to be floodings after heavy rainfalls near the Ravine in front of Lyceum area, leading to Loton. I think this is
in Parian.
Yeah. As repairs done for this area. By the way, why is it always flooded in that area near the Parian?
Well, this area kasi ano naman talaga, no? May kita naman natin that the area is kumbaga yung mababa talaga yung ground niyan, no? So talagang there are portions of Intramuros that is susceptible to flooding, no? So, and one of the the things that we need to address also yung flooding problems sa area na yan, because there are drains there that were already clogged, no? Or hindi na nadadaluyan ng tubig. And the challenge there is yung area kasi mas malalim pa siya dun sa current ground or ground level nung streets, no? So talagang nagiging naipunan talaga siya ng tubig during heavy rains.
Thank you for that. In the practice of conservation, like for example, in what you do every day in Intramuros, like for example, if there is an interested person out there who would like to join you in your mission to protect Intramuros and in the conservation of the walls and fortification as well as in the museum, what do you think is the, or should I say this, the ideal background for those who are willing to join in the conservation aspect of Intramuros?
Okay, actually, there is ano naman, no? When it comes to conservation kasi, ang sinasabi ko naman din kanina, this is in order to minimize yung cost, kailangan regular maintenance lang talaga yan, no? And it's just like cleaning your own house. Linis ka lang sa sarili mong bahay, no? Walis dyan, punas ng alikabok, tanggal ng mga damo-damo dyan, no? It's already part of conservation, no? Para hindi mag-deteriorate, no? So, first thing, kailangan marunong tayo maglinis ng kapaligiran natin, no? So, para hindi masira yung structures, no? But kung malaki na yung damage that there is a need for intervention, no? So, dito na papasok yung mga may specialization, no? So, usually we have first, siyempre, mga architects, engineers, especially if you're doing conservation of structures or built structure, no? For objects, normally ang ginaganap namin dyan mga chemist or with background with chemistry, because we're dealing with chemical structure of materials. Again, we need to study ano ba yung chemical structure ng mga materials na yan para yung intervention na gagawin, it will be compatible with the material that we are conserving, no? And when it comes to conservation, compatibility kasi kailangan. So that's why normally conservators meron dapat chemistry background, no? So mga ganyan, no? But I'm sure mga kung wala naman, kung hindi naman siya mga technical people, no? Kung like let's say a normal student. A normal student can do conservation. No? Again, this is just regular maintenance. If we know how to maintain our place, our house, it's already part of the conservation work in order to prolong the life of your property. No?
Do you accept interns?
Oo naman, we accept interns, but for now, because of the pandemic, no, medyo mahirap. No? So we maybe siguro we can devise a program. How can we do this online or virtually, no? Pero syempre, mas maganda kung may experience sila on hand, no? Maybe siguro if kung matapos man yung pandemic, we can go back to that, no?
Thank you for that. Now, before we end, a final question. For those who are interested in the topic of conservation of built heritage, what literature can you recommend to them?
Madami.
Maybe 3. Maybe for this discussion, only 3.
Madami, no? First, for you to understand what is conservation, no? Siguro, what I can recommend, you try to read first different international charters. So we have the Burak Charter, the Venice Charter, the Zimbabwe Charter. Alamin muna natin yung mga different charters na because these charters can help us in determining what approach ba yung gagawin natin, no? When it comes to conservation. Also, we have our heritage law, no? Or 166, RA 166. So it's one of the literature that can help us, and also yung ating Philippine Heritage Charter, no? It's one of the materials, no? So for when it comes to technical aspects, so there are a lot of materials, no? Kasi conservation nag-evolve din yan, no? Nagbabago yung mga techniques, technology, no? So syempre there are literature na medyo mahirap makuha, no? Kasi most of these are there are local publications, but many are abroad, no? So recently may mga nabili nga ako, like the book by Harold Tenderlit, no? The father of modern conservation, no? But it's hard to get that book, no? So maybe siguro at what I can suggest, there are online references, for example, in the Institute of International Institute of Conservation. No? So sa website nila, they have materials. The Getty Conservation Institute, they have online references that you can use, no, if you want to read more about conservation, so you can access it. So for example, I have this just came from the mailbox, Studies of Conservation by IIC. So yan, I have these newsletters from the Getty. This just also arrived. So these are all available. These are available in their website, and it's also free access. No, so pwedeng mag-browse through their publications. No, so isa din yun. No, so sa mga local publications, we have the book by I forgot the author. No, from the University of San Carlos. No, so they have a book there. I forgot lang yung author, no? And also yung the handbook of yung kay vegan, yung sa homeowners manual, no, on how they conserve the structures. One of the publications that you can also read, no, if you want to study conservation or restoring built heritage, especially yung dito sa Philippines, no. So those two books addresses this need ng mga local examples natin.
Thank you for that, architect. Thank you for that presentation. Now, I just like to promote the social media channels of the Intramuros Administration. We are available in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And for those who missed this episode, or for those who came in late, do not worry, because this episode is going to be uploaded in our YouTube channel. Just search for the channel of the Intramuros Administration, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And of course, we are also available at the Google Arts and Culture. So our museum collection, a greater part of it has already been photographed and digitized and exhibited at our page at the Google Arts and Culture. So feel free to visit, just key in Intramuros Administration. And I'd also like to promote our future Intramuros Learning Sessions episode. So episode number 54 is about the heritage and legacies of the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery of the University of Santo Tomas by Dr. Earl Luis Sempio. So tomorrow is already the 150th anniversary of the founding of the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery of the University of Santo Tomas. And then on Sunday, May 30, at 3 p.m. Manila time, we're going to have Solomon Luxin, who is the chairperson of the Heritage Conservation Society, is going to talk about household heritage conservation initiatives for localities. Right, so before we end, Architect, would you like to say some final words? Maybe for our youth, siguro.
Final words, no?
Yes.
So maybe siguro, no, since we are in the pandemic, no, as I have said, hindi naman kailangan matapos ang buhay sa pandemya, no. Kailangan natin mabuhay. Kailangan natin magtrabaho. We have these objects that we need to take care. So kailangan tuloy-tuloy lang, no. We just need to follow the minimum health standards para magpatuloy tayo sa normal na ginagawa natin, no? And since we are now in the GCQ, we already opened our open sites. So the Fort Santiago and Baluarte de San Diego is already open to the public, no? So I would like to invite you to visit again Intramuros, no? But wag po natin kalimutan ang ating minimum public health standards, no? At the same time, when you're in here, wag din po tayong magkakalat, no? So, kasi kami rin po yung naglilinis ng mga kalat. So, yun po, no? So, ingat po sa inyo lahat, no? And wag ko kalimutan, again, wag natin kalimutan ang ating minimum public health standards when we visit again Intramuros. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much for that, Architect, and thank you to all our viewers who joined us today in the 53rd episode of the Intramuros Learning Sessions. Thank you, everyone, and until next time.
Thank you.